So, I was looking at the presentations, and everybody's going to alpha, concept stage, drawing white papers, raising ICOs, and nobody's really articulating a distinct, strong business model. If I was an ICO investor, the first thing I would look for is a business model. I'd skip the white paper, which is not a big deal to me. Strong team is secondary. First thing, the business model is about how strong the team is. If you haven't found a way to make money, that means you're looking for a way to make money. So why would you try to raise capital before you find a way to make money? Okay, basically, it's a land grab, and that's not potential business from my perspective. So give me 1 second. I promised everybody was going to live stream. Any questions thus far?
I got one. So we listened to a lot of pitches, and my brother and I, we've been on the floor, to most of the booths. I've asked the same question to pretty much everyone, and got some pretty disappointing answers. So the thing that I think is critical is why. For you personally, why are you doing what you're doing, and then Veritasium, why. Business model obviously makes sense. People are here to make money, but what does it actually mean to you personally, and then from Veritasium, do you have a why?
Okay. Give me 1 second to just type this so I don't try and multitask when I answer your question. Wow.
The reason I ask it is because, as you were just explaining, business case and everything.
Very valid question. I got very little sleep, so I'm not going to try and answer your question and type at the same time. Okay. Everybody say hi. Hi. Okay. So, to answer the question why, I, as a personality type, am a real asshole, honestly. I'm very, very against the grain. We have a conversation, and if you say the sky is black, I'll say actually it's very, very dark, midnight blue. And I believe in meritorious compensation. So I don't believe in someone succeeding simply because they were born into a situation that had concrete walls that prevented them from getting to their level. I believe in the best man wins, or the best woman wins, or the best child, etc. So as I see things currently, that's not the way things are happening. I am self-interested, but I'm not really, believe it or not, I'm not motivated by money. If I was, in real life, if I was motivated by money, I would work on Wall Street. Okay, but even if I was working on Wall Street and I was motivated by money, what definitely put me in interest with that again. Okay, you're live now. So even if I was working on Wall Street and I was truly motivated by money, knowing what I know, I could never reach my goal because Wall Street is not a purveyor of asset classes. Sell Wall Street. What Sell Wall Street is what? It's a compensation vehicle. Okay, so it was designed to separate you from your money. It can never make you wealthy. As a matter of fact, the employers, the Wall Street employees, are executives that they work for the top tier capitalist class, but the way the compensation structure is put together, they can never become part of that class. Same thing with top tier lawyers and accounting firms and consultants. So, if I was truly driven by money and success, I would make sure I become part of that capitalist class. What I am driven by is construction, survival of the fittest. I'm a Darwinist, by nature. I have libertarians. Yes. I am an organic Darwinist. So, I would like a capitalist class to consist of the best and the brightest, but most importantly, the most driven. If I have more drive than the rest of you, you could be smarter than me, you could be bigger than me, you could be stronger than me, you could be wealthier than me. At the end of the day, right, on average, because you take out outliers, I would win. Okay, now if I'm smart and driven, at the end of the day, I can bring it faster than everybody else. The way society is put together now, that's not the way it works. So, because the capitalist class does have these concrete walls, there's not much you can do about it until you have a paradigm shift. Every paradigm shift that comes, you have an opportunity to make a change. Let's go through quick paradigm shifts. Early paradigm shift, the wheel. Okay. Excuse me? Also,
somebody asked me to turn it.
Turn it?
That's what they, writers did.
Okay.
Rotate the device.
Yeah, it's a rotate.
Okay, I probably started that way, but, okay, oh well. And, from the microcomputer, which brought the richest man in the world, which is Bill Gates, and he is the richest man in the world. I think Forbes has listed at maybe, 70, 80 billion.
80 billion.
Remember, he chopped his net worth in half when he created the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So you take that 80 billion and multiply it by 2. He's ahead by a large margin. Okay? And then after that paradigm shift, you had the internet, hyper-disruptive, just like what you see. The internet created a whole new raft of, a whole new layer of not only billionaires that invaded the Fortune 500, 400 list, but it created a cemetery of both industries and companies. But a lot of people, this is a big secret, a lot of people believe that technology is what killed these companies off. Technology can never kill a company. It can never destroy an industry. What kills a company or industry?
Lack of innovation. Lack of innovation.
Federal.
Well, there are some companies that are not very innovative, but because of
Government.
Lack of regulation.
Regulation.
the ability to alter business model. Once your business model shifts and you can't shift with it, it's just the end. Once you run out of cash, it's gone. And that business model shift can come about from smart people, from political winds changing. Usually, when it destroys entire industries, it's because of a change in technology. The change in technology then enables astute entrepreneurs to take advantage of it, or astute competitors, and then once they take advantage of it, they alter a business model. Perfect example is those young dudes who are not young anymore at Google. Okay, they had a search engine that seemed useless to many until they found a way to monetize it by selling ads.
You're saying you need to restart live stream.
In order to rotate to widescreen.
Right. Okay. I don't know why was that anyway. Okay. I'm gonna restart the live stream. Come back, but I'm gonna send out a link. Look for a new link, and then you'll restart it 35 seconds.
Damn, Reggie, why do they widescreen, bro?
I always do, but I can't stand when everybody's a little tiny, you know what I'm saying?
It's like I'm looking at you all vertical.
So realize that a lot of people look at these videos and that's how they find out about Reggie, so please pardon me. Am I losing anybody? As of yet? Or you understand where I'm coming from?
I think we're all ready. We're here sitting in front of you, we're all good.
We've all drank enough wine to go to the bathroom, we're holding it in just to listen.
There's a bathroom there.
But
You
right
can
there,
take a
you do it
quick
now.
trip.
No, okay. Like you were promising free knowledge here.
Yeah. Where's the wine?
I'm pretty sure everybody's up here just for that.
Okay, so we are again. So we're continuing the live stream. Everybody say hi. You're on YouTube. I hope you don't mind, but it's too late now. Okay, so at this time I can't see questions. To ask questions, we'll scroll through on YouTube and we'll answer. So a question was asked what my biggest failure was.
Yeah.
And I clearly stated that I don't have a single biggest failure. I have many failures, but my view on this is a failure is not an event, it's a process. So nobody just woke up and failed. You know, if you do fail, it's a culmination of action or lack of action, inaction over a period of time. At the same time, success is the same thing. Nobody was born, came out, you know, the womb, I'm a success. Nobody woke up one morning, I'm a success. If you do succeed, it's from a string of actions, sometimes inactions and dumb luck that happen over a period of time. So I'm going to take out personal failures because that's personal. Business failures, I failed in the .com era because I was under the impression that success and failure was a matter of merit and not a matter of marketing. I was so pissed off when bikini.com got $30 million. And all they had was girls in bikinis, literally, and the website for girls in bikinis. and I had a fully functional office productivity suite that stored files on the server and you could use from any connected device that ran Java. I literally did Google Docs 20 years beforehand. So, no matter how good I thought the idea was, they got the 30 million. I got about offer for 1.72 million, which I thought was an insult, which is 1.74 million more than I had eventually got because I total loss. But that failure was a learning experience. Okay, so I quantified or I used the metrics of success based upon what the market is measuring it by, and not what I measured by personally. And I was relatively young at the time. I had a failure in real estate. I did a very, very good job of real estate investing. I bought distressed assets, fixed them up, made them cash flow, and pulled money out, bought another one. I was happy. I didn't do a lot. From a percentage return, very, very high return, equals to 4 digits. I got caught up in one deal when I was selling everything off because 2 plus 2 so you can almost 79 again. And
Residential or commercial?
these were small income. So if you're familiar with Brooklyn, they have brownstones, 2 to 4 units, 2 to 5 units, and I would buy them all. So they're classified as residential. Some of them were small commercial if they're 5 units or up. But from a real estate perspective, it was small commercial because I rented each floor out or duplexes out. I got caught in a lawsuit by doing a very engineered deal with somebody who wasn't very sophisticated, but I actually tried to help them out. But they defaulted on our agreement anyway because I guess that was their nature. I'd say 8 months after the deal closed, he hired a lawyer, and we fought in litigation for 6 years. This is something I closed at a regular closing for. Passed the deed, both had lawyers, 6 years. I ended up selling it for $800,000. The property's worth maybe $8 million at the time. Someone developed it and a lot next to it. And now they've had maybe 90 units, all told about $34 million. So my big lesson there was stop assuming that just because someone says that something is mine, it's mine, which goes to the point of having a bearer asset. If you don't have it in your hand, you don't have it. Okay, you have promises to get to it, you have an IOU, you have a derivative of having it in your hand, but there's one thing that you don't have, and that's it in your hand.
Counterparty risk.
Credit risk and counterparty risk. Very valuable lesson. And also the fact that you think you own a deed, but someone can sit there and muddy the waters and cost you a fortune. I think I had a failure in Veritasium. Veritasium was originally developed. The first launch was in December 2013. We had the first swap, peer-to-peer swap, to clear. I was excited. I didn't sleep for 2 days. You know, I was the first one to do this that I knew of. In 2014, I hired a new team of veritable genius. My CTO was also a patent attorney, and we developed it. But we never were able to monetize it because I ran out of money 3 times. That was a failure. You know, I learned a lot from it. I didn't get to monetize it. It was a very good idea. I did get the patents filed, okay, applications filed. Then I tried it again. I used my own capital. I did small, sales, private, transactions. And then I did the token offering. The token offering was a big success because I structured it as I would want it, a financial person. I believe that if anybody's going to benefit from the value increase of my activity, it should be me. So if I'm going to do something against capital, I raise what I need, okay, and then any value that accrues after that raising should accrue to the company advance to that raising. And the lucky or very prescient few who bought into the idea in the beginning. Now, we didn't sell tokens as equity or shares or securities. It is seriously prepaid fees for our products and services. But I feel our products and services are so unique, robust, game-changing, disruptive, there's significant value there. And you can tell me, I think that the hedge fund, private equity fund arena has a very rude awakening coming. They've already seen cracks and weaknesses in the fact that they can't stick to the 2 and 20 model, and that's been weakening for a while. Okay, they're getting pushback from clients, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. we're going to get a lot of pushback if someone comes in with a flat 5% fee. Now, it's not just standalone buy-side institutions. The sell-side, which I don't want to say God, let's not make any more enemies than we have, right? Which price created, okay? Unless they're able to perform at a very, very high level and justify those fees, any prudent speculator or investor is going to go for a flat fee. If you look at the performance, I don't know if anybody follows my social media tweets, and I use tweets, I just glanced into everything. I made a sample portfolio in the Veda. The Veda is our software, basically smart contract driven research that is consumed by a smart contract. That smart contract then acts upon the research, and acts upon the research by buying whether the research favors or selling whether the research doesn't favor. I put $1.8 million of assets in the Veda, our own company's own. November 8th, it went up to about $8.2 million early last week. We had a very bad few days, okay, for those who actually don't think long-term at least. So now it's about 6.8 to 7.9. I think everything went back up. So let's say an average of about 7.5 million. 1.8 million to 7.5 million, roughly 60 days.
What is that based, what's the portfolio?
It was Ethereum, Bitcoin, Populous, and I had a lot of Veritasium in there. I tell you about Veritasium is investment. It's not a security, but Veritasium is how everything, operates. It's the key to get in. Okay, so I just happen to have a lot of it in there, which put the sample portfolio together.
Can your platform make money on downturns as well?
Well, it can, but currently we're not, it's not programmed to do that just yet. Okay, but that's not what we're doing. This is basically going to be long only. Okay, if it was an investment vehicle. I don't consider it an investment vehicle, I consider it software. But using the parlance that everybody's comfortable with long only, long term. So, very few people are purchasing tokens or ICOs with a long-term perspective. They go in, they look for a rise, and throw it down. I'm thinking maybe 5 years in advance. Just think about SME factoring facilities such as Populous. Let's assume Populous pans out and works. They've created literally a new asset class. Okay, factoring receivables that are tradable and liquid and available worldwide. Okay, the correlation would be relatively low to the S&P, but there'll be some correlation. And it's something very, very different. If they execute well, they can go very quickly. They potentially have a competitor Veritasium now, or Veritasium can be used as a platform to leverage out and go in other markets. If Populous works, it's not going to be a slam dunk next week or next month. But if it does work 5 years from now, okay, you're talking a potentially very successful company. Niche market, a niche market that's very big and it can potentially grow larger because it becomes more liquid as more people are able to access it. So instead of having 4 or 5 maybe private equity funds, especially investors, by the factor, they can have 300,000 or 400,000 people globally, okay, put capital in, and now the amount on top,
There's a huge demand for microfinance. It's a real issue when you're operating at, I have a lot of friends who opened up stores, and it's a real problem for them to manage their inventory.
Right.
So that's a real value add.
it's definitely there. And they have a lot of potential. There's PayPal, which is a competitor of Populous. Yes, we have a report coming out on them. As a matter of fact, excuse me. Yeah, it's hard to go over everything. Soon, I'm going to have the analysts focus only on ICOs. And then there's going to be another small team that's going to focus on, as opportunity comes up, physical assets. We've done quite a few already, it's just not public. There was a Caribbean airline. We were going to do a very, very highly structured deal. A very high yield for potential investors. Equity sharing, revenue sharing, the whole nine. It's going to save the airline. It's going to give the investors a very, very strong, fully collateralized return with equity participation. But these things are hard to push through because this platform is new. Once the beta is ready, next week, actually not next week, after it goes through a security audit, code audit, I will modify the risk of having regulatory issues by just using it myself. So I will throw our own capital into it, right, en masse, and I'm going to go shopping. for opportunity, and I will buy it, and I will try my best to make money, and I'm pretty sure I will succeed. Difference is I'm going to do it publicly in front of everybody. So remember all the Lamborghinis sitting in front of the Ferraris? Vigorous consumption. I will now flip that on its head. You will see Meritocracy and Reggie's partners do conspicuous production. I will produce value in real time in front of everybody using this tool. Excellent marketing, right? Wow, he's making money. Excellent marketing. He's eating his own dog food. You know, there are a lot of people who make a product who will never use it, and I will use it exclusively. Okay, and there's a lot of places to make money. You just need to learn to look. But if a hurricane comes through, I should be walking right after the hurricane, before the water dries, trying to take care of all the assets and people who need money. Questions, comments?
I would say one of the biggest injustices that's been sort of carried on over the past maybe 60 years, and this is just macroeconomically thinking, is like a whole manipulation of the monetary system.
Right.
Particular to manipulation of some of the most important monetary methods of all time. And one of the things that really attracted me to Veritasium is the replacement of capital market, which might go up to the head of the monster, which could be COMEX, or what some people call the prime piece. You know, and the delivery of particular assets at a certain time, or whatever amounts, the reallocation of all of them.
Right.
And to me, that's what I just sort of see as the end game. I'm from the perspective of a hodler, that the end game is going to be coming for a long time. They've been able to suppress whatever they thought was going to happen, and it's sort of morphed into what it is right now.
Right.
And
I'm listening.
I just see a lot of value in the idea of Veritasium, being able to create peer-to-peer markets where people can really be transparent with each other and not have like these types of fees that are sort of like, well, like mutual funds, rip people off and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
So the way Veritasium eliminates the fees, if I went through the legacy system, I'd have to charge high fees like everybody else. That's how they make money. I'm using the Google method. Google alters the business model, just like Amazon.
Compresses.
Okay, and then they usually eliminate the costs. You know, does anybody use any Google products? Gmail or Google Search or anything?
Pretty much
uses
free.
Google, right? Who
we're
doesn't use
we're
Google
technically
Search?
the product, but.
Okay, exactly. So they made you the product, okay, and then they drop the traditional products priced for free, okay. It is very hard to compete with free. As a matter of fact, this phone is an example of what I call Google's negative margin.
They subsidize the cost of it to get the.
Right. They do more than subsidize the cost. Android is free,
Yeah.
okay. They do revenue sharing, or they used to do revenue sharing with downloads and advertising, so you can actually get positive cash flow. So now, not only did you not pay for the operating system, which is the largest expense, cell phone operating system, except for initial design, you actually get revenue share for some of the activity on it. How do you compete with that? You can't. Other companies have to come up with a capital expense, develop the software, upkeep it, market it, etc.
Make money at the backside.
Right. And so Google simply says, okay, we give it for free, we make money from the side. Amazon has done that. Amazon has killed several industries by making money through the side. I do the same thing. So theoretically, I could charge zero for Meritocracy products. Okay, zero, and I simply charge for transactions at least. I charge by complexity of the deal. Simple deals, you know, get on for free. Complex deals, I structure deals. You know, I meter the price depending on complexity. That was the original swap transaction.
Can you give an example of a complex deal that Very would be able to run efficiently? What, like you just mentioned there, like what kind of like a deal structure there, like you know, maybe an office building.
Yeah, I think
So without the use of like a smart contract, like intermediary.
Right. Well, there's no intermediate. Smart contracts monitor the entire transaction. This building you're sitting in is a condo hotel.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a hotel and condo units. The condo units are sold off. I'm pretty sure this is somebody's condo unit. It's sort of big for a hotel room, and they use the hotel staff to rent the units out and administer them, and they get a fee for it. I can take this hotel, I can veritize ownership of the deed, I can veritize cash flow from the actual hotel operations, of them renting the rooms, I can veritize ownership of the actual condo units, I can veritize the management of the condo units. Now we have one building, one business model, have 6 different revenue streams and methods of ownership. 6 different potential investment vehicles out of what was one. Okay, I could then mix and match them. I could combine them. So if you're an investor, long short investor was somewhere. You're a long short investor. You find that I have a lot of S&P equity or some, LLC equity, etc. You're looking for diversification. I say I can create a product for you that has a negative correlation to what you used to investing in, simply by mixing and matching this, give you a slice of this and a slice of that. I'll automate it. You get your yield or your dividends. If revenues hit a certain milestone, this happens automatically by smart contract. No credit risk, no default risk. Everything runs as planned. Your only real risk is signing a contract that wasn't suited for you in the first place. Because you can't break it, you can't back out of it. A smart contract is, somebody help out? Nobody knows smart contract? Smart contract is a piece of computer code that emulates either a social contract, I'm gonna go out with my girlfriend at 8 o'clock, I promise you'll have a good time, or a legal contract. I promise that I will purchase your car at 6 o'clock for $40,000 if it's in an XYZ condition. A smart contract takes that, turns the code to the transaction into computer code, and then executes automatically. That's a computer program. Locks it in, it can escrow the actual funds, prevent malfeasance, fraud, etc. It runs on its own.
You can't basically back out of your own bullshit. You promise it, you're gonna deliver.
So that's why, and that's the major risk. Be
That's the
careful
beauty
what
of
you
it.
ask for because you're gonna get it, in essence.
That's the beauty of it.
It's the beauty of it, and it's also the ugliness. If you think of it now, was a small contract, people signed the contract but failed to read.
Sounds like a
the
landline.
sign.
Does anybody got a landline?
Is that our phone?
Yeah.
TV.
Huh?
Okay, let me pardon me, that's probably calling you.
How you doing?
Nobody could answer the easiest question.
Okay.
You can't pause it.
Yes.
Not on live stream, you can't pause it.
This building, this unit, and the cash flows is massive.
Yes.
Walk me through that one more time again.
I'm gonna walk you through it. Let me show you what the actual application looks like first, and you might be able to understand a little better.
So I'm just trying to understand if I can accrue a return, but I'm not taking on risk. There must be some risk of free lunch. So what risk am I taking on?
The risk is the risk of the actual asset you're verifying.
I'm taking on the valuation risk of the asset.
Let me take on several risks. For instance, if you want our cash flow, okay, and I verify the cash flow, the 5-year cash
This
flow
unit, 5 years on DC.
of this unit, okay, you're taking on duration risk, interest rate risk, you take on operation risk and management. Depending on the risk tranche you're also buying, you can take on market risk of the actual real estate market. Okay, so there's always risk there. Okay, your job is to
So
be
I'm
able to.
taking a partial ownership unit, partial ownership of this unit, and then I'll accrue any value I accrue to the unit.
You'll be taking a proportionate slice of the cash flows from this unit, and or partial ownership of the unit, and or depending on what we verify. For example, I gave, have 5 or 6 tranches that we sliced up. Okay,
But I can get that exposure in various other platforms with more diversity. I'm unclear if I can get it as efficiently.
Give me an example.
I can buy CMBS.
CMBS wouldn't be the same as a CMBS is buying a securitized loan. So
Right.
there's very big difference.
But I get great diversity of cash flows and I can model out the risk. I'm just saying I can get similar types of risk with cash flows higher up in the cap stack and don't have ownership.
Actually, I guarantee you couldn't. If you went to a CMBS vendor, okay, and you offered you XYZ, okay, and then you came to me, you're looking for exposure in this particular building, in this particular location, okay, in this particular brand name. CMBS couldn't do that. The best they can do is.
So you're saying if I particularly wanted this unit, yeah, CMBS could do that because, but I mean, I guess the attraction is the CMBS has a lot of diversity. Risk would have a lot of hotel rooms. I get 1% of all the rooms across this
If-
1 mile strip.
If that's
right?
what you're looking for.
Right.
So if you were my client.
But
you
if I
said-
wanted to concentrate my risk in this unit for some reason, I had a great night here.
Uh-huh.
You could create that risk.
It could be this unit, it could be all the units in the building, it could be units on the east side. it could be on
And
the
what
south.
about the liquidity?
Liquidity is a function of supply and demand for the actual tokens. Liquidity in CBS is not great. Okay, we can increase
Liquidity in the CMS is gonna be better than liquidity in your token.
how do you think?
Hundreds of billions traded today.
But that's not necessarily liquidity though. Liquidity is something that is always available until you need it. Okay, we've already seen the liquidity in the CMBS market when it started to when things started to hit the fan. So that's not necessarily liquidity. Let me give you an example. Suppose you're a client. Yes.
Your stream is off. It disconnected.
Okay.
That's what I'm
It's
getting.
like availability.
So you know what I might do? I think I'll just record it. That'd be easier, right?
It's Friday night, everyone's already out.
So let me just fix this. So I'm going to give you an example of how our business model works, and I think that might help a little bit. I just want to record it so I have to say it twice so we can see. Did you go downstairs? Oh,
No,
go downstairs. Would you mind?
Yeah, well.
That's my best.
Got my boy Flacco here with me.
What's going on, Webbot Room?
What's going on, people?
What's happening?
Okay, so let's look for this slide. So to give you an example, let me start recording. I hope you guys don't mind a bright light. So to give you an example of how our business model works, we have the Meritocracy tokens, the prepaid fees for our products and services. One service is consulting and analysis. So your fund comes to me and says, I would like real estate exposure in terms of yield, and I would like I would like diversification across the country, okay, or across a certain geographic sector. Let's say Southern Miami. Okay, I will go and I would talk property holders, individual or companies to tokenize certain properties, and then I'll be able to give you, hopefully, that particular slice of what you want, diversification along Miami corridor, South Beach, southeast of the United States, or the whole southern, corridor of the U.S. Okay, we tokenize it, and then you tell us specifically what you want. You might want a duration of, 3 years. You may want liquidation preferences. You may want some equity, and so you want equity characteristics, such as you want the ability to participate in capital appreciation. Suppose you want capital appreciation in the yield, but you don't care about liquidation preferences. So we'll create that in a smart contract. A smart contract is a matter of typing up code in an agreement. What we provided to you was a combination of common stock and a bond without any preferred stock characteristics.
But unsecured bond, because there's a mortgage on it.
Well, you can make it secure. If you want security, you want collateralized product, you can do that as well. You tell us the characteristics you want. You want it to be secured or unsecured. So if you want it collateralized, you can make it collateralized. If you want it uncollateralized, you can do that. You tell us what we want. So let's eliminate the concept of common stock, preferred stock, whole loans, and notes and bonds, and just have a checklist. Think of a spreadsheet and a shopping checklist. I want this, and that. You check off what you want. We create it, financially engineer it, okay, and then we go and shop it around to basically sellers of the risk. The sellers of the risk would be developers, landowners, apartment owners, etc. We put it together, we create the product, and we sell it to you, okay, through the platform. So in terms of whether you can get it in CMBS or not, you can't CMBS, or literally you have a bucket. You have 4 buckets, and you simply buy stuff out of the bucket. The vendors of CMBS, the sell side, they create stuff and they sell stuff. Okay, we're not selling products, we're selling our services, and the product is actually the platform that we're selling it through. So we make just as much money as if we created a standardized bucket with no choice as we went totally bespoke and customized.
So you're not taking risk, you're not arguing it. I mean, it's sort of like a mortgage-backed security by another name, just a different set of risk around it.
Not at all,
Can I
because
make a
it's not a
point?
mortgage.
Can I make a point to him? What's the minimum amount of money to invest in your fund?
About $1 million.
Yours?
About $20, you know?
Right,
It's
but,
not-
but he's
and-
talking,
and-
but he's talking about pitching to hedge funds. So
Yeah.
I
So
have
the
access,
point is
everything
that I can
Reggie said I
access-
have access to very efficiently. For
Actually-
retail, it's different.
Okay, actually, but A, you don't have access to it, number one. I guarantee you, try and get a hybrid, common, preferred, long bond with specific duration from CBS. As a matter of fact, try and get it anywhere. You don't have access to it. I don't know your business, but I do know that there's nobody who's gonna
And
sell it
there's
to you.
plenty of hybrid debt instruments that I can
There's
buy.
plenty of hybrid offers.
Plenty of hybrid debt instruments that have the combination of that. But it's not, the minimum investment is $1 million.
Okay, but they have the combination of what? Because I just told you to create the investment vehicle that you wanted. So the statement, that statement alone shows that they don't have it. You're saying they have something set that they'll sell you. I'm telling you, I'll create what you want, get it for you. Very big difference. You know, you go get a suit made, you go to Macy's, you buy off the rack, or if you go downtown and Taylor, he measures you and creates a custom made suit.
And how can you create it efficiently? Because, I mean, in many cases, there's incredible expense to sourcing.
What's the expense?
Just the sourcing.
Give me an example.
How do you go, I mean, in terms of going through and finding all these developers and convincing them to effectively sell and source a structure for you versus someone else who's willing to move the risk very quickly? A bank.
Well, a bank will not move very much more quickly. A bank has Rolodex, and the bank charges a very, very high fee.
Right, they charge.
Okay, so a
They
lot
can
of
move it.
a lot of I don't know a lot of
I ran a
Well-
structured business, so we could move $2 billion of apartments in Germany in a week.
because we have them in inventory.
No, we can approach an owner and move it in a week or two, because we can line up Belgian pension funds.
I know,
Buy the structure to come
but
quick.
you just said the exact same. You asked how I would do it, and you just explained how I would do it. You know, a bank's not going to do anything different from anybody else would, but banks do sell a lot of inventory. If you ask bank for a bespoke model or product that we just went through, a bank's not going to do that in a week or a month.
So they can do it.
They can do it at 800 basis points.
So they would probably charge 3 to 5.
A bank would charge it'll charge cost
3 to 5, and then we would probably take the risk on ourselves.
3 to 5 basis points.
3 to 5%.
3 to 5%.
3 to 5%, not basis points.
I can guarantee you. So you go to a bank and you go ask them to create maybe a total return swap with the equity characteristics.
The underlying risk would drive the cost. If it's very high underlying risk, then the cost to the counterparty that wants the risk would be high. If it's low underlying risk, the cost, you know this.
Yeah, but it's the design part that it starts with the design part. The design part is going to drive the cost initially. Okay, so if it's not an inventory and you design it from scratch, the 300 basis points is going to be out. I can tell you that
It's
now.
not, but it's not so bespoke, because it's kind of like they have 50 people that do this, and there's sort of a shelf. You can pull off, okay, well, there's this type of risk, this type of asset, this is how we're going to structure it, and then you shade it and move it based on the underlying risk.
What we just described, do you know of any bank that has that on the shelf? The 4 attributes we just described just now. Can you think of any bank that has that sitting around?
Yeah, that guy worked for it, we should do it all the time.
So you have the bank that you work for has a product that will give you 6-year duration, equity participation and capital appreciation. Okay, the choice of liquidation preference or no liquidation preference. If it's liquidation preference, 2 to 3 times.
I think where you can add value is that the banks just charge too much money for this.
Yeah, but they do more than just money. They sell out of inventory. They do not do bespoke products like that unless it's a custom job.
Well, they get mandated by owners of assets and say, hey, we want to monetize some of this risk. We want to move in. Can you find institutional investors that want to buy it? Structure it in a way that they find palatable, right?
Right.
And it's banking mandated. That's what they
right.
do.
But
they charge a lot of money for
but
it. And
compare
they
that
charge
to
too much money.
Compare that to the situation I just explained to you. I'm going to the buyer.
The
of the risk.
individual.
Right. I'm going to the buyer of the risk, and I'm saying, tell me what you want, and we'll structure a product, and we'll shop it to the sellers.
That happens a lot too. I'll get a sovereign wealth fund approach. We say we want to own New York City real estate risk, third tier. We don't want trophy properties. We want to pay cap rate. We don't want to create this risk at a cap rate of more than 5%. And you structure that. You go find the assets. But the point is, they charge a lot of money because they're the gatekeepers. I think the interesting thing is not about the structuring and what you can do differently. It's the fact is that very few people control it, and they charge way too much money for it. So the democratization, allowing
Also,
this
who can
access.
participate.
So exactly right. I think the real value add is about giving anybody access to this risk, as opposed to the elites.
Right.
Society.
And here's
I think that's where the value
But
add is.
as we get to
The
the top
structuring
level-
is, there's no secret sauce in the structure because the assets are there and the buyers are there, and it's like anybody can do this stuff because you don't need to be a genius to do this because I work with these guys, I'm not fucking genius.
Yeah, but I disagree with that because traditional structuring is not as it. Structuring it as a smart contract, eliminating counterparty risk, it's just not there.
I think servicing risk is important because so much of the risk in a security like that is one, servicing risk, and two, the cost of doing all of that, and you can automate it, make it efficient, and then and sort of remove any of the sort of collecting from a depository trust, a centralized entity. It goes direct. It's a huge efficiency gain. It should democratize access to it.
There's also balance sheet risk and
Absolutely.
the
All that
balance sheet
stuff's
risk.
addressed in a smart contract.
You have counterparty risk to the bank, and you have counterparty risk to your actual counterparty. The bank becomes a de facto counterparty. There's no counterparty risk in a smart contract with the funds escrow. Zero. I mean, we can go through many attributes. It's not like I'm super smart. It's a technology shift, so we change business model, like I explained. Banks sell out of inventory. If you go to a bank and you want to buy something, they have a menu. You can have what's on the menu. Don't get creative, or you can get creative, but then you can almost never profit from it. If you do profit from it, that means you have extreme inside information. Take a John Paulson with the trade, the CMBS trade, where he made his name and $1 billion. I actually did the exact same trade, but I did it retail with options. I had a phenomenal return. I called Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers very, very easy. Because remember, I just came out of real estate. So I knew anybody who did business with me was going bust. So I said, we were to puts. I was buying puts at 5, 10, 25 cents on the contract.
Wow.
They were shooting up to $86 on the same contract. And this was no leverage. It got to the point where I been leveraged it, but my nose was bleeding for the volatility. John Paulson did a very similar trade. He allowed the banks to custom make a swap. He made a lot of money.
He custom made it, and then bet against it.
Right.
And the banks were paid so much to do it, they thought, okay, this is great.
He didn't custom make it. The banks custom made it for him.
No, he actually had his guy make it.
Well, he had this guy in the bank.
No, he had his head trader, who I worked with at Bear, actually make it at
But it's
Deutsche
just
Bank.
for Bear.
Well, he made it at Deutsche Bank, so the banks made it.
No, they made it for him, but they
Well, that's the point. The
he
bank,
was the chef, so he sent his head trader into Deutsche Bank and said, here's the recipe.
yeah, but he
make it
came
like
in.
that."
They executed for it,
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
As I did, correct me.
Which makes it more egregious, by the way.
Yeah, so he came in and he custom picked mortgages out of the system. So he didn't want anything before anymore. He custom picked.
He customized a piece of shit and he bet
Right.
against it.
So. Now I got sidetracked and forgot my point.
It's a really nice piece of shit though.
So I forgot what my point was because I was sidetracked. What was I talking about? If nobody knows,
you
then
think
it was-
further.
Okay. Well, long story short, they would charge you a lot. Now, you're in a CDS or TRS, or return swap. You're really, really deep in the money. Okay? The bank is having problems. You want to unwind. You can only unwind into another TRS. Do you get cash out? Okay? These issues, and they do happen, I've known people this happen too. All the banks said, we'll get you into another one. Okay? Because the bank couldn't afford to get out. All these issues are eliminated if you have peer-to-peer contracts. Okay? The contract says you'll get cash at the end of this period. You get cash at the end of the period. It doesn't really matter if you made a mistake, if you did well, you did bad, etc. Okay? The way the current structure works, banks cannot do that. And they will not do it because it doesn't work in their best interest. What makes it most egregious to the banks and beneficial to us is our compensation structure. What many would consider a fund, we have a flat 5%. Okay? If you go to a sell-side institution, the asset management side, 60% of gross revenues goes to compensation. That's salary, bonuses, etc. 60%. 50% on bad days. The worst I've ever seen, or best, was 48%. So if I start off at 5% as a ceiling, there is no such institution that can compete. Even if they wanted to drop compensation. Goldman drops compensation, all of their true inventory, because they don't do anything to come up with ideas and trade stuff, or their true inventory, which is their traders, bankers, run over to JP Morgan. JP Morgan drops it, they run over to Morgan. Okay?
Cheaper cost.
Right. It is impossible for the industry to match a 5% or anything below, I'd say 40% gross. Absolutely impossible.
Because they can't even pay the freaking salaries.
Right. And that's just salary. That's not SG&A and everything else. That's not cost of running a business. That's just compensation. That's the structural deficiency.
That's paying you
Yeah,
to
well,
go home.
I mean, that's kind of the whole thing that's the point that I've made to a lot of people is that, you know, I work with a lot of different corporations. Compensation on average is 20 to 30% of
Exactly,
revenue.
yeah.
And so when you have the financial industry with 40 to 60% of revenue being spent on compensation, that's a lot of fat to cut out.
Straight up
Right.
bullshit.
And then you have to run the company. Then you have SG&A, you have, you know, everything else.
It's just a compensation inflation. I mean, there's
It's a compensation vehicle. Remember, it's
they're
not,
not adding value.
it's not an asset class, it's not an investment, it's a compensation vehicle. Now, okay, Wall Street, the financial industry, but investment banking, Wall Street, not necessarily commercial banking, is the only industry where the employees make more than the owners of the company. The only industry. Okay? I would say hedge funds, but theoretically the owners of the company are the GPs, so, you know, they make a lot, but they own it. But, you know, not to hit the hedge funds, but they own the company, but they take very, very little risk. You know, they probably start off with a capital of their own. Once they scale up, the risk is borne solely by the LPs. The way hedge funds are set up, you have a free call option. So you have a call option you didn't pay for. Things go up, you participated. Things go down, it doesn't really matter. Not only do they have a free call option, they have a standardized put that they also got for free. So if everything does go down, they get less money, but they still get paid for the management fee. So the structure is counterintuitive to the investor unless you have a raging bull market. But if you have a raging bull market, you shouldn't need a hedge fund. Many hedge funds only invest in leverage beta.
That's why you see the rise of all the ETFs and passive
Right.
management, right? And that's I mean, they're not even beating the market anymore, and everyone's just buying these ETFs. But when the market turns and then there's forced liquidations, it's this
Right.
Feedback loop that
Exactly.
perpetuates the crash.
Now,
Bingo.
I don't want to pick on like any particular group. Our solution is to be research driven. Okay, so it's not necessarily active management; it's active research. You know, I really believe in numbers. I really believe in digging down and finding the truth. When I found Bear Surf in trouble, I said we did a debt research. Okay, and I understand the industry a little bit, so I understand you should be looking at the balance sheet, you shouldn't be looking at the income statement. But sell-side analysts focus on the income statement because their job is basically, their job is marketing support for the traders. You know, that's basically what sell-side analysts do. Okay, focus on the balance sheet, you see cracks before they bust right open. I did Bear Stearns, I did Lehman Brothers, I did General Growth Properties, Countrywide, Washington Mutual. I did the entire European EU, starting with Ireland, Portugal, Spain, Italy. Spanish and Italian banks are still a mess.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sue them because they publish this. If you pick up their annual report, you go through it, just the way you go through on the annual report, you take it, you turn it upside down, start reading from the last page of the fine print. By the time you get to page 20, it's like a horror movie. But you can't sue them. They published it, they made it free. Most analysts obviously chose not to read it. By studying the truth, you could go a very long way. You could be wrong and still beat a lot of the competitors because the competitors have a perverse incentive. You know, their job is not to find the best performers or the worst performers to go short. Their job is basically marketing support for moving inventory. Now, not many people are going to say that, but you know that's the way I see it. Do you think I'm wrong?
No, I think you're right. I think the bigger issue is that, so I think there's a huge opportunity for whatever, you know, for all all of this technology to address the huge imbalance of capital in society.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what you're trying to get at. And I think that addressing that through smart contracts, through crypto, through blockchain, there's really never been something that can probably address it so clearly and efficiently. Until recently, quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need gatekeepers who are not incentivized to address that to get involved, whether it be government, right? So I think that's what I find very intriguing about all this. And I think structuring things and, that's all sort of like a commodity in the grand scheme of things, right? Like all that shit can be addressed, but I think the intriguing thing about crypto, blockchain, smart contracts so that you can create units of access to information, knowledge, capital that can be truly transparent, which effectively makes it less risky, which is really good, right?
Hey, straight up, you said it right. Just do that the vocabulary.
And that's why I'm here. I help run a hedge fund, and I think that's what I find really intriguing about it. I mean, one of the things I find really annoying is that Facebook makes a lot of money off of it, right? And they're making money off me because I want to be part of this social network and I derive value out of that. But I don't control my profile, right? They're monetizing my activities, my social engagement, what I search for offline when I'm not on Facebook. I want to control that, right? And more importantly, that has value to Facebook and a lot of other companies. I don't want to necessarily capture that, but I want to decide at minimum who can use that.
Right. It's your value.
Right?
Controlling your.
That's just an example, right? That's just an example. But I think all this technology is for the first time potentially allowing that to happen.
Yes, agreed, and that's the whole thing.
Even with Google, I want to search for a piece of information,
and I think
Google takes it and monetizes it in a hurry, and it's forever captured.
And I think I think collectively, people are realizing the deal they made with the devil to get all these resources and all this stuff. And we look at what is collected, and it just doesn't make sense. And
we're getting ripped off.
I mean, it's not even that. These services work incredibly well, but the price we're paying is really high, and we're seeing how people are starting to analyze it, monetize it, and then, but even more so, create these profiles. I mean, you look at what. You can say whatever about James O'Keefe, but some of those things that were said on those videos and with the Twitter engineers are truly disturbing. And so you look at the level of which, at this point, AI creates a profile, but then when is that weaponized? When is that, all these different things. And so, I think that adds a tremendous value.
It already was weaponized for the election, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We've seen it. It's already created massive problems across society.
Yeah.
In really fundamental ways. I mean,
Right.
And all the evidence of that is just now coming out.
Or at least they have their own best interests at heart, But
keep the politics. Keep the politics out of it.
Conversation right there.
So Reggie, when you decided to do this, did you pick out like the lowest hanging fruit and decide to do this business model, or you have a passion for this?
No, I have a passion to disrupt things. I'm big on Meritocracy, conflict. Let the best man survive. I picked the financial industry because of low-hanging fruit. 60% gross revenue is a compensation. It's very easy to design a product.
The sell side is the most inefficient thing in our society, although it thrives on creating efficiency around transparency around securities. But the business model itself is all about the way they generate wealth is through hoarding information and access to securities, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, think about it, right? I mean, the fact is that they sell their opinions to hedge funds, and then they force us to pay exorbitant fees just to act on the opinion. The opinion is generally garbage, but that also drives security prices. So I need access to their information because I need to analyze how garbagey their inputs are. Because I need to know the security, right? Even though I know it's, and the whole thing is just, it's very anachronistic, right? The way we have the rapidity of information, how it circulates through society, the openness, the increasing transparency means it's a totally.
Can I just put a term to that? It's called the bullshitness.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit.
Let's just generalize it as the bullshitness.
And when you mentioned how they generate wealth, Wall Street, in my observation, does not generate wealth. If you bought sell-side products, think of anybody. Let's define wealth. You know, you look in the media, you see the top 1%, that's not really no. Wealth should denote control over others and destiny, okay? So the top 1% is not wealth. The top 0.1% would be considered wealth. Okay, so let's say $500 million in investable financial assets and up, okay? Considered wealth, real wealth. How many people do you know of by consuming Wall Street products have reached that level from their income? Can anybody think of one person? Consuming. In other words, you buy what Wall Street sells you.
Only the guys that are there are the guys that run Wall Street.
Only by the guys that control Wall Street
Yeah,
wealth,
that's what it is.
that consume Wall Street wealth.
Look at, and this is interesting. This is a thought game. Even consider the highly, I think we all agree, the highly overcompensated Wall Street executives. How many of those outside of the CEO level, outside the CEO, not just C-suite, not the C-suite, just the CEO level, have attained $500 million in investable assets?
Many of them.
All you guys
I can't name too many, and I know a decent amount.
You're saying non-C-suite Wall Street executives?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at most investment banks, you have a handful of traders that are making more than the C-suite.
Making more is a very big difference. Income and wealth are two very, very different concepts. If you attain wealth by working, you're the working class. You will never become wealthy from a capitalist class perspective, because society is not structured that way. And this goes back to the token and ownership of the infrastructure. I'm going to circle back. If I forget, just remind me. So, the tax structure was designed to benefit the capitalist class. Capital gains taxed at 15%, 10 to 20%. Income taxed at anywhere from 28 to just over 50. And you have multiple tiers. You have federal, state, local. Okay? You also have the ability for mobility. You have the passing from generation to generation. You have inflation, which kills income-producing vehicles. You have opportunity costs. So if you're working, it's almost impossible. I say it is impossible from income and consuming Wall Street products, even if you are part of Wall Street, to break $500 million. Almost everybody above that $500 million mark got it from inheritance or got it from capital gains. In other words, creating a small, medium business, having a liquidity event, etc., or doing something new, such as a token. I can't think of one exception to that rule. Not a single one.
Other than busting your ass.
Even
Out of this world, type shit.
if you're busting your ass and you're doing it working, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you have to literally create a large business that produces a large
Capital gains is the only way to become a member of the capitalist class. Now, once you become a member of the capitalist class, there's still a lot to conquer, because now you've solved the wealth part of the equation, but in a socioeconomic struggle, you've conquered the economic portion, now you have to deal with the social portion. The social portion is very different because members of the capitalist class that have been there for a while, their job is to keep all of you out of it. Okay? So, you could be very, very wealthy, but you could still not have power. Think of who is higher on a socioeconomic scale? Lil Wayne, Barack Obama.
Who was the first?
Lil
Barack
Wayne.
Obama, but he's got
okay.
less money than Lil Wayne.
He might have more now after that book deal. But let's assume he doesn't. Okay. Now, and we could just do many celebrity, basically, all of it.
No,
Okay.
it's very relevant.
Yes. I'm saying, instead of everybody chasing ICOs and looking for short-term trading, basically, because people thought that people who are successful economically are traders. Take a look at the Forbes 400 list. Look at the top 10. Look at the top 50. How many of them are traders? 0. You know, you can say Soros is a trader. He's not. Soros is a global macroeconomic speculator, heavy on research. Okay? He's an investor. He just invests using global macroeconomic trends, right? And not, the typical stay long only fundamental analysis. You go long and short. He uses commodities. He uses macro, but he is very much the investor. The reason why trading is popular is because those entities that benefit from trading push it. They sell it. So who benefits from churning trades? Exchanges, brokers. Okay, so if you get paid commissions, then you want as many trades as possible. You make trading look sexy. Okay? Every time you come in a position or out of a position, you have costs, you have a potential tax event, you take risks. Okay, you only want to take risks once. That's going into a position. So you make that risk to be as calculated and researched as possible. Hence the beta, which is basically dynamic research. We do the research, we do it independently. It doesn't matter if the research says yay or nay, I could care less. Once we research an opportunity, we find it, we put it in smart contracts, a series of smart contracts that basically act upon the research dynamically. And then holders of Veritas tokens, prepaid fees and services, can now participate in that research in real time. So you enter the contract, you put your capital contribution in, which is currently FF, but it could be anything in the future. We're doing US dollars, euros, yens, etc. And then you ride the exposure that you have to the beta. That's it in a nutshell. I'm gonna
Find through it and find, perhaps I can insert my own biases, but, research is a very particular thing, it's very subjective. And so, how is that, value determined in I guess, a peer-reviewed academic sense?
Well, I've never done that, and I've been eating my own research for 11 years now.
Can you
And I want to-
crowdsource the research so you're getting sort of external validation of the research? I mean, almost like that ICO pitch by Rublik, which I actually thought wasn't bad, where they're basically saying, hey, we can have predictors, you can participate and predict, and then people can unlock a prediction with a token, and the more successful you are, obviously the more tokens you accrue. I don't care about the token aspect of it, but I like the fact that you can build,
Socialize it.
effectively, you're socializing the quality of the research. You're crowdsourcing it from anywhere and everywhere, and then you create effectively a repository of people that are good at predicting things, stock prices, whatever it is.
Right. So
that way you're addressing sort of because at the same time we're sort of relying on your in-house abilities, and I've been following your stuff for years, and that's fine, but how do you bring new people in that don't know who you are?
right. So honestly, that would be my concern, part of my business model. Since I'm selling my research, just like any other research house, you could believe in it, you cannot believe in it. Okay. I consume my research. I would be the first user of the beta, primarily because I don't have to worry about regulatory risk because it's just me. And number two is seeing is believing. Look at the track record. If you peer review an open source or crowdsourced research, the research is of value, you've destroyed your opportunity because now people will front run your research.
Okay, but Reggie gets hit by a bus.
Okay. Well, Reggie has a whole stream of analysts, so if I get hit by a bus, the analysts take over, and Reggie doesn't get
That
paid
bus
that
is
year.
owned by
So
Wayne.
now they split up the bonus pool between them. So.
Or Reggie and his analysts get hit by a train in a bus.
Okay, then you have an analyst covering 3 different
I'm just
continents,
saying,
so.
you
That's
want an iterative platform that can somehow be bigger than
the original beta is a manifestation of our in-house research. That's what the product is. Okay, you can always put.
Can I turn that service up?
No, we're busy.
yeah.
Yes, please. Fluff my pillow.
50 towels.
Now, we can always use other research sources and spin up new betas.
Because you're kind of morphing it into walls. Because I get calls every day from my sell side bank. Look at our research. Look at our smart. Look at our track. Obviously, this is different, but in a sense, what I find valuable is, and where I've been able to make money is not going there and finding alternative sources of data points in society to figure out, frankly, how to make money. Right?
You know what a good example would be? Think about potential competitors. A natural hedge fund, the Soros fund, the quantum fund. Okay, has the quantum fund ever crowdsourced their research? Of course not. Has they ever peer reviewed their research? Not officially. I'm sure they've asked a couple of friends, right, or trusted advisors, but it's never public. Which is why the quantum fund was able to overperform year after year. After the 13th year of performance, do you think anybody's questioning the research of George Soros and his teams? So basically the beta is codified hedge fund. I shouldn't say that. Okay. The beta is software, okay? The beta is software. You're buying a research product, you're buying a proprietary research product, okay? I will likely probably give I don't know why I can't get this to keep recording, I'm sure I've run out of space. I will likely make the research available for a fee, but the last thing we'll ever do is remove a competitive advantage. Now, what I could do is I could create other betas for other research. For instance, Uncle Cliff
Yes.
has a very,
Cliff.
very popular report, and the report seems to have a very good track record. Now, and I like Cliff, he's a smart guy, but we're in a massive, you just put it down right there. We're in what a lot of people consider a massive bubble. Okay? But Cliff, theoretically, well, actually, you know,
ICOs for sure.
Yeah.
let's forget the term bubble.
Technology.
What you do have is you have a lot of uneducated people trying to make
Hey,
investments.
easy.
Okay? And I don't mean academic education. Like, I hear the comments, let me get this started. The comments that I hear, I find to be absolutely ludicrous, and they probably stem from the fact that, hold on for a minute. See how much recording equipment I have? You think I know what I'm doing, right?
My comment is I like to say that everybody, we're really far away from the 200-day moving average. Just sort of average it out.
Okay, so I see a lot of people do what they call investing, okay, and investing in the ICO market. They don't look at any fundamentals. They don't look at the things that traditional successful investors have looked at. For instance, if you look at a lot of the comments to social media, Veritasium is a scam. Why? Look at their website. What does a website have to do with anything? We haven't even launched a product yet. Look at the website. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the website, but that's neither here or there. Veritasium is vaporware. Why? Because where's their white paper? Have you bothered to look at the business model? Look at our competitors, ask the same question. Goldman Sachs is vaporware. Why? Where's Goldman Sachs white paper? Have you ever read Goldman Sachs white paper? No. Morgan Stanley's white paper? Nobody? Citibank's white paper? Okay. Do they have white papers? Why are we talking about white papers? A white paper is an academic thesis about something that doesn't exist. Okay? Now, a lot of this is targeted because they don't want a certain person, a certain product, or a certain business model to succeed. Some of it is actually serious. And that's very, very dangerous when you have that level of, and I hate to say ignorance, wield a certain amount of capital because they have very low cost basis through other successes, going after basically a lot of inventory. That's what's driving the prices up. There needs to be a very serious shakedown. If you have a long-term perspective and you don't care what happens quarter to quarter, and you have the capital that enjoy liquidity, then when that shakedown comes, now it's time to start buying large swaths of infrastructure. But you have to be able to recognize infrastructure and have access to it. Back again to my blatant and unapologetic discussion of Veda and infrastructure. I'm selling infrastructure based upon my ability or lack thereof of producing quality products and producing innovative services, such as forensic research. To this time, to this date, there's still no forensic research on ICOs besides us. I put out the research for free. I rushed it in the beginning, and my analysts are offshore, so it was a little sloppy, but it was very, very busy doing the ICO. Now everything's running very smoothly. If I would have had the chance to print it out, I would distribute the populist research. You see how it's done. Very, very well done in my opinion. But people don't even understand the retail ICO consumer doesn't understand the research. They say, look at all these revenue projections. They don't make sense. They haven't started producing revenue. These are startups. So you're not saying it's worth this. What you're doing is giving a conditional valuation. If they execute at this level, with this amount of revenue and this margin, this is the value. Okay? If they haven't issued equity, or if they have equity and they have a utility token, and they have a fixed price token, stable token, this would be the value of the enterprise and the value of the token. This level of analysis just doesn't exist. The reason is the environment still consists mostly of software engineers and developers, and not a lot of analytical finance guys who are not from a business model that is compensated by pushing inventory.
Tech and economics are, very different subjects, and so you have a lot of people who have realized a ton of success on the technology platform, but as we all talk about scaling often, if we truly scale into a global marketplace, then, you know, economics do start to matter, and having a comprehension of that becomes very important. I think that gets lost on a lot of people in this segment.
I agree. So, back to the software. And currently, the software is basically a bunch of web pages, dynamic web pages. I like this. I consider it a piece of art. It has no server, no traditional server. So the web pages load off of a distributed hard drive, IPFS, and the blockchain. So by not having a server, that means when you, very bad guy, comes to hack the server, there is no server to hack.
No point of it.
Okay, now there is a server. The server is distributed against 11,000 different nodes. So you have to hack by all 11,000 of them. But to do that, you have to find them. Then you have to get into it. Then you can hack it. Very difficult. It's actually more secure that way.
It's a mission.
Exactly. So, in addition, it is fully distributed. When people talk about decentralization, so this is centralized, this is decentralized. Distributed means spread all throughout. And full distribution, now we have an architecture that's unique. And it has an interface that looks like software versus most blockchain apps, which I'm a nerd, so you can call me a technologist in that sense, but I'm not a software engineer developer. And I think a lot of software developers should never develop an interface without being surrounded by laypeople, because they develop things that are essentially unusable. GitHub, I can't stand it. You know, whenever I need to do something and find something, it takes me minutes to find things that are simple, which should be simple to use. Like adding a new user, I have to find, they should just, new user, it should be very simple. The reason is, all my developers love GitHub. I'm like, no, post it on Slack and I'll answer it because I'm not going to GitHub. GitHub is an example of a very popular program that was made by developers for developers. Okay, if you haven't seen it before, it takes time just to log in and get started, which is ridiculous. So I wanted to make it anti-GitHub. So I didn't do any of the development here, by the way. So this is the Veda. Veda stands for Veritasium Autonomous. Autonomous means acting on its own, of itself, without a third party, authoritative third party. Dynamic, it works up and down, all by itself. Interactive, because you can participate in it. Research. So we take research, which I haven't showed you yet, forensic and fundamental analysis of Populous, of PayPal, of Ethereum, of Bitcoin. We do platforms, we do entities, we do everything. We do opportunities, we do a macro opportunity. The result of what happens when the EU finally pays a piper for going negative interest rates. Okay, we're going to tokenize that. That is a guaranteed smash. You go negative interest rates, you create the rich and risk that's out of the universe. What happens when you take a negative interest rate and it's either you go positive or it's false positive by the market? Realize that there are people who bought 75-year and 100-year bonds at negative interest rates. Negative interest rates are guaranteed loss, and that's assuming rates never move. And they're not going to stay negative forever. If they do, you're going to be like Japan, and you can have a 38-year lost decade.
Zombie.
And decade's only 10 years, but they had a 38-year lost decade because they did the negative interest rate thing. Europe can't mimic Japan's performance because most of them debt holders are Japanese citizens, so they can roll that over in perpetuity. Most of the European bondholders are sitting in Asia and America. But that's neither here or there. Let's suppose we tokenize that opportunity, we veritize that opportunity. Long, EU blow up, short EU blow up. Okay, we add this to Populous, to Ethereum, to Bitcoin, etc. The research says we go long on this basket of tokens. So when you go to the Veda, this is what I should have had it here. You'll pass it around. Here, let's pass it around. Don't drop it, I just bought that. Okay?
It's a surface today.
So I go through a lot of computers because I'm always lacking in sleep, and I always put it in the front pocket of the airplane. I get up and walk off. Before I was in another one, So
just get a cover.
Yeah, or I should stop putting it in the front pocket, but I don't, that's one of my many failures.
Just get a private jet.
Yeah, you can do that too. That's a cheaper way to do it. Actually, I bought so many computers, I probably bought a private jet by now. So what you're looking at is the Veda, that's the portfolio page. That will also be the landing page of the Veritasium.com website. Yes, we are doing the website over. And basically it shows financial statistics up top. You know, basically size of the portfolio, average RI, etc. And it shows trades that are happening on the right, and it shows the actual, what is now a model portfolio. Now, to participate in that, you can go several ways. You can have your own Veritasium tokens, which are the key to get in, and you have your own capital, which is currently F, and then you enter and to get your proportionate piece of the pie. Don't change the page quite yet. Pass it around and I'll go walk through it. Okay, and or you can have Veritas tokens, but you don't have the capital, so you can rent your tokens either on an economic basis or a contract basis. Does anybody know the economic contract rent difference? No, nobody? Okay. So economic rent is basically the cost that it takes to get you out of the bed to go to work in the morning. Okay. You have.
But is it the cost to buy your token, or how do you?
I'll explain this. So first, let's take tokens out and just use basic economic rent. Let's suppose you're an accountant, you make $100,000 a year, and that gets you out of the bed to go to work every day. You have a competitor that says the average, salary for that area is $100,000, but I want to move in and compete with your employer, so I'm going to pay you $150,000. I want to sue you from a competitor. So you're like, okay, I'll get up, but I'm going to go to a new employer now. So the difference between $150,000 and $100,000 is economic rent, right? And that's basically the amount that's paid over what was considered the fundamental value of whatever the asset or transaction is, which would be the account. Okay, so economic rent in this case is the price that someone will pay to rent their tokens to someone who doesn't have tokens in order for someone to gain entrance into the application. The reason they do that is they don't have access to tokens, they don't feel it's worth keeping the tokens, etc. So you rent the tokens,
It's another amount.
right, but you do it at a price, and the price would be a percent of the P&L.
But you lend your specific token, so eventually you're gonna get your specific tokens back.
No, because it's economic rent. So, did everybody see
You
it?
get whatever the value of your tokens were at the particular time back.
You'll get whatever you negotiate with the rentee for in terms of ROI, participation in P&L.
In particular, whatever currency that you're speculating.
Not Blackstreet comes in and they say, we want to, I tokenize this building. They say, we want to get in a part of that deal. Okay? We don't have, this building goes for, I don't know Miami prices, but let's say $78 million. Okay? So with $78 million, Blackstreet needs, say, $7.8 million or 700, whatever number, $7.8 million to get into the deal in Veritas tokens. They can't source it, they can't get it, they don't want to buy it, etc. You decide to rent them economically the $7.8 million, but you say, I want 10% of the P&L. Okay? It's really P, because you're not going to get anything, so you want 10% of the profit. That 10% of the profit is the price that you're paying, that they're paying you to get access to the token.
To get in.
Right, and they get it.
Let me see this one more time, cause
Okay, well, I didn't get to the rental part yet. So that's economic rent. Contract rent is a little easier to understand. It's very similar to when you rent an apartment. When you rent your apartment, you go in, you say, I'm going to pay $2,000 a month rent. Okay, I'm going to put another $4,000 up as collateral, which is security deposit, and pay 1 or 2 months up front. At the end of the contract term, okay, you give the apartment back, and assuming there's no damage, you get your collateral back. Just like a margin purchase of securities or margin, right? You have collateral, which are the securities.
and it's cleared back to you.
It's clear back to you. In this scenario, you get your Veritas tokens back. Okay, so this is the Veda, okay? These are the trades,
What's your current transaction?
right? This is not your, this is the entire, right? This is the entire portfolio transaction. So now, we click here, this is a menu. Yeah, I don't know how to get everybody to see it, so.
Everybody's
Come on in, since it's such a small screen, I'll pass it around again. So, step up the camera, right? So you click the menu. Okay, number one, you have different currency translations. So you can translate the interface in US dollars, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Euro, British pounds, Chinese renminbi, and Japanese yen. Okay, so you
The only
pick,
two cryptos are Bitcoin and Ethereum.
excuse me?
Only two cryptos are
Yeah,
Bitcoin and Ethereum.
and because most people
That
wouldn't
makes
want
sense.
both, yeah, right.
I understand.
Okay, so here I just translated it to Ethereum. Now everything's displayed in Ethereum. Yeah, I'll blow it up nice and big. Everything's displayed in Ethereum now. Now I go and I go in as the VE rent.
How would Woodstock?
Excuse me?
How would Woodstock? I know you, on Twitter, you mentioned that Woodstock, you were able to port. Can you elaborate on Woodstock's implementation?
Well, I don't know much about Woodstock. I just talked to them. They said that it was to be a straight port. Real blockchain agnostic. My business is not to build blockchains. My business is to create disruptive apps to allow you to do business with him.
Interact with each other.
Right. According to Rootstock, EOS, Neo, and others,
EOS is good.
they basically, and the smart thing to do is to make your blockchain Solidity compatible, or backwards compatible.
So you can switch.
So it can easy switch.
WebAssembly.
Now, be careful, because I'm blockchain agnostic, and I don't really care who wins, but Ethereum has a massive head start on everybody else.
First
It's easy
mover
to,
advantage.
right, it's easy to say Ethereum has this, that problem. Ethereum is also running more transactions than I think any other blockchain.
Now, what about when Ethereum starts running all the dApps, all these systems? on top
Slows
of
them down.
It slows them down, but they're also going proof of stake.
So you have to
Proof of
back
stake is
up.
gonna take a lot of the heavy lifting off, but that's gonna introduce more bugs and more security issues because it's new, okay?
Either way, they're gonna stay ahead.
Right, but the same thing's gonna happen to everybody that's to start
EOS
off.
and everybody
When you
else.
start from scratch, Ethereum had to rewrite the entire programming language because, you know, it didn't work in reality. But you had to experience reality before you knew that. So I'm not saying I'm pro Ethereum or anti XYZ. I'm saying nothing beats the test of time. Bitcoin is the most rudimentary of all the Bitcoin of all the blockchains. It's also stood the test of time. It's never been hacked or compromised. The blockchain itself, right? It's been compromised. People didn't put their patches in, but that's more the end user's fault, not the blockchain's fault.
It's the only immutable protocol in the ledger.
Yeah, you know, well, I'm not gonna get into that. I was gonna say it should have been somebody else, but we'll skip the political part. So, with the rental app, you can either get very tokens by renting it from somebody or you go off your own, right? Here we have the tokens available. There's a window. You click the plus button. It's very much unlike GitHub. You see the plus. Very simple form to fill out. Here you can read it out and you can fill it out if you want. This is limited. It's a beta. It's not supposed to be in operation, so I limited to 0.001 vary, which will get you 0.01 vary. Yeah, 0.01 vary, which gets you exposure of 1F, and there's a hard cap on that. And then we had a cap of 7 days. I lifted to 30 days, so people can use it a little more. And these are private testing, private beta tests. So it's easy to fill out. You fill out the form, you click submit, you get a warning that's a disclaimer that says you're about to do XYZ. You click OK, it pulls the F and the Ethereum out of your MetaMask plugin, and it goes to the blockchain. It's assuming the F blockchain is running smoothly. 14 seconds, 20 seconds later, you have an exposure, it shows up. Now, if you want to sell your tokens, you do the same thing. You click the little plus, you fill out the little parameters. Basically, you're creating a smart contract that says, I will offer you my tokens at this return on investment, at this rate, for this long, and this offer will be available for that long.
Peer-to-peer exchange.
Right, so it's basically exactly a peer-to-peer exchange, not going through a centralized exchange, where you negotiate directly with somebody else. I look at the social media, I don't participate in it a lot, but I do read it every now and then. And people when I ask, how do I get XYZ passive income? You don't get passive income, you get active income. You have to participate, you have to negotiate a deal, assuming you did negotiate wisely. you
Passive
get
income.
You take responsibility.
Right, yeah, passive income, I don't really, there's no such thing as passive income.
Should not
That's
exist.
called sleeping. So now, after you pass it around, the last person to see it, go back to the menu and then click VE exposure. VE exposure is a way to gain exposure to the asset if you have everything that you need. If you have your own capital in terms of F, and you have your own very keys to get in, then you just basically, knock on the door, turn the key, walk in. And that's basically just put in the amount that you want. You price it and either F or vary. So you want to put 10 vary in at a 1 to 100 ratio, and we're going to change that to 5%. So it's going to be dynamically 5%. You put 10 vary in and you get whatever 95% more than vary is. Better than that, right? So, and that buys you the exposure directly into the model portfolio, or the portfolio that's there. The portfolio changes dynamically. and it will have conventional digital assets like Bitcoin. We taken Bitcoin, we gave it a Veritas wrapper, and now you can trade Bitcoin or purchase Bitcoin through the Ethereum blockchain, which is very unique. You can do the same thing, just like Bitcoin is off blockchain, with real estate. And Lorna is Jamaican. She's not only is she the assistant treasurer for the Democratic National Committee, she's also the honorary consul of Jamaica from LA. You know, she's a Beverly Hills native, so she's not in New York. Don't know that. Okay, so we go to Jamaica, we find some property, perfectly distressed and underpriced, we veritize it, and then we launch on the blockchain and it can trade. The app actually creates a token automatically, right? And puts it in the blockchain that you look up on Etherscan. And you could actually launch that on a decentralized exchange, and this can be done very quickly and automatically. Now you actually have liquidity.
So you could basically say, so let's say like I buy a $15 million, 300,000 square foot distribution center in Doral. It's got a lease in place, for however long period.
Right.
Then I could sell fractional ownership of that out into the market and basically give anyone who wants exposure to Airport West distribution product, fractional ownership rather than buying the whole building. Is that essentially what's happening?
You could give them fractional ownership, or you could actually engineer a deal. Fractional ownership and or proportionate participation in cash flows, and or you could sell off the air rights. I don't know about that particular area, but in New York or Chicago, you can sell off air rights, or you can do a combination of three, or you could do something a bit more innovative. But just doing ownership, participation in title, participation in cash flows for X amount of years, and air rights, you take what was one product, you created 3 products, you can mix and match them. Each and every one of those products has a different risk reward payoff.
Right. And can you do that in the reverse to raise money so say if you became aware of something that might be for sale?
That's basically an ICO.
Yeah.
Right? You have an opportunity to buy, say this building, and you found out that the manager has a back over but get fired, he's the only one that has the keys, etc. So, wow, you can even go short the building by using contract rent, raising the capital, buying the opportunity, and then selling it after it's dropped.
So how do I market it through the platform? Say I'm aware of an opportunity, but it's a little bit complex. However, if I was given the opportunity, I could pitch it where I think, the right people would understand. So through the platform, how would I take, a prospective deal, put it together and put it out into the market in a way that someone who doesn't live here might be able to understand the value?
Well, you can do it yourself if you feel you don't have the resources. You take a portion, a very large, very purchase, which you're about to make. It's funny, okay? And you can pay us to do it. We can do the analysis. You can go through the professional market.
And you can put it out to the network.
Right, you can put it out to the network. You can start trading immediately. You can take it, put it in the decentralized exchange. Okay? The decentralized exchange combined with the proper marketing creates an interesting opportunity. You have a token trading next to Doodle Coin or Dogecoin. Okay? And next to that is a token that represents 1/100th ownership in a $15 million building. Okay, that token doesn't have a particular price fee, but because you put out a decent amount of research and a decent amount of marketing, you have players who now want to take advantage of any more arbitrage opportunity. So that token is available for $45, when it should be $45,000 a token. They're going to buy up as many as they can until the price goes up. Or if someone's paying $150,000 per token because they don't know how to read the balance sheet or the income statement, then the arbitrage is going to close one way or the other.
Sure.
So you can create liquidity that way. The liquidity could be sparse until a lot of attention is going to it. And so you can create a lot of attention. You can also manipulate the markets right now, but we're not going to discuss that. But sooner or later, you're going to have a decentralized exchange done correctly. I think Finex might be the first one to do it because the guys that run Finex, they're creative, they mess up, but they seem to know what they're doing. But that's an example of something that could be done right now. As a matter of fact, that app, with the back end that's not exposed, has all the facilities to spin up tokens at will immediately. So I can spin up a token now in 15 minutes. You could go to Etherscan, you can actually look at the token. If you look at our Bitcoin token, which is trading through that app on the Ethereum blockchain, you click it, you get to see 98 Bitcoins. And that number is being gathered from the Bitcoin blockchain, which every time it's hit, it mentions the Bitcoin blockchain, make sure the token's there, and then it's reflected on the Ethereum blockchain. And we can do that with any asset. We can trade your privacy. If you go to Google, go to Google, you sign in, and you go to the options, you can do a dump, a mass dump of everything that you've done on Google from the beginning. It will frighten the hell out of you. Honestly. You'll be shocked. When I go in, I start typing, I go in, I wake up in the morning, and I type an address. Google finishes it for me. And it's accurate, literally. It knows exactly what I was gonna do. That scares me. I didn't even know what I was gonna do. I just, typed
It's terrifying.
Right.
Absolutely.
Imagine if you decide you fall on hard times, you want to monetize that information. I'll sell this amount of Google data, filter or not data. Suppose this person happens to be someone of interest, like Trump. I will sell all of my private Google information for my last 5 trips to Russia before I got elected. There's some value there, right? Imagine a media, right? So you can actually tokenize that, and you can sell it or trade it. You can do an ICO, raise capital on it, or you can do it after the fact as a cable asset. Okay, that would have a correlation to who knows what, right? So, creative.
And so basically, we could rely on you to create value through the platform itself, or we could market it ourselves and saleable on the platform.
Everybody contributes to the value.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to prime the pump because I'm a very selfish interest. I put everything I have into this, so I'm going to, make sure it works. But I eat my own dog food. So I will find assets and I'll prioritize them if I can, or I will buy assets that are already on the blockchain or a combination of both. Over time, we will have a very, very wide portfolio and a very varied portfolio. So this would be basically a diversified investment. Then we will have other betas with very, very specialized, very specialized. Healthcare, oncology, you could prioritize doctor's offices. A good example of an interesting use case would be a doctor, very successful in terms of a medical practice. Say, most doctors, I think, average about $150,000 to about $275,000 a year. This doctor does plastic surgery in Beverly Hills. Okay, he does $3 or $4 million a year over the last 30 years. He's ready to retire. Either he closes it up, he sells it to a younger doctor, which he probably have to finance that, or it's going to be a wealthy family, or he goes to 1 or 2 private equity firms or a hospital that specializes in it. Best case scenario, which is never going to happen, 3 buyers, okay, they make good on the price, they're all going to knock them down. Veritize a practice, okay, he can sell a portion of it, he can sell all of it, he can sell the practice he can sell a management contract to the practice in California and New York, but keep the actual practice because the new buyers are not licensed professionals, medical professionals. You can slice and dice and do whatever you want. Now he has liquid retirement. Instead of 1 or 2 buyers, a hospital and a private equity fund, he has 46,000 buyers. And all 46,000 buyers compete for the price. You have true price discovery. If I had 1 hospital and 1 private equity fund, both probably with the same board, do I have any price discovery? I'm basically getting bent over for whatever they offer me, and I can say take it or leave it. And if you want to retire, you either take it or you leave it. Now, with the 45,000 buyers, okay, you have actual price discovery. He has the ability for liquidity and granularity. He can sell a portion of it or all of it off. He can fund it. He can be a seller's held financing. He can margin it. He can do whatever he wants. That's another very practical use of it. But you have some, snafus, state by state, HIPAA issues, et cetera, et cetera. It's a matter of lawyers. Be good lawyers to work it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about, what is your goal, like, to see your product outside of the United States, like Central America, South America, like the Caribbean?
I don't respect your political politics. Go where the money is. You know what Willie Martin said when they asked him about banks? He said that's where the money is. So where the money is where we go. I'm trying to do a lot in Jamaica. I have 8 o'clock call with one of the largest African exchanges. I have 5 different African nations I'm trying to work with, and potentially the Caribbean nations. The issue is this is very different. It's very disruptive. It's not invented here. So a lot of other countries, believe it or not, are not as inventive as the U.S., but they have unique problems. Venezuela has a very unique problem. It's not going to be that unique, because if I'm right about the EU, they're going to, look very Venezuelan sometime soon. But, you know, it doesn't really matter. The issue is there are different regulatory regimes and
Yes.
jurisdictions, and they have to comply with them. If I deal directly with the government and they see value in it, then there should be some cooperation. But in the beginning, I take the data, I capitalize it, I simply go shopping, and I verify what I buy. You know, and then at will, if something has a significant increase in value, I can sell it off, just put it on decentralized or centralized
How do you
exchange.
structure a short in a building as you reference?
Various ways to do it. You can do it through a peer-to-peer swap, or you can do it this way by using contract rent, borrowing capital, and purchasing whatever you want to purchase, with knowing you have the obligation to return the capital at XYZ contract date. So you have,
structure and then outcome, and you know that you're basically, so you're saying you predefine sort of the endpoints of the contract, you know, you create, how would you structure it?
Yeah.
Help me out, I'm trying to conceptualize. How
you
would
go
you-
through, get very tokens. Yeah, I'll let you walk through it yourself. Now, this is economic rent, the contract rent's, not ready yet, maybe next week we'll be ready. So you can click the get very tokens tab, click the plus button, fill out the form, and you click enter. Yes.
How do you explain to roll out with the whole Jamaican stock exchange?
So put a negative ROI on this?
No, you put a positive ROI, that would be, 1 second.
Yes.
The ROI would be the amount of participation in the P&L, or the P, not really L, that you would demand in exchange for giving the tokens. Now, contract rent is slightly different, so it'd be issued in terms of a percent, which is gonna basically the same thing. So just think of the percent on a loan, so it'd be very analogous. So, you want to lend out your tokens or your assets for 10%, 20%, 30%. The other side either agrees or doesn't agree. If they agree, once you see the list, you see the list of actual rents, you just click the shopping cart, it pulls up an agreement page.
So I'm
you
betting
accept
on someone
it.
overpaying for the value of my token in a sense.
Well, no, not necessarily overpaying, you're just renting it for, it's just like apartment rent.
I'm renting it at what I think is an inflated value, someone else, that's how I effectively short.
No,
I'm
no,
not following-
no, okay, so you're not shorting. First, you have to, you're renting the assets, right? So you wanna get at the very, so you're borrowing it basically from somebody.
I'm
And
renting what assets?
the tokens, the Ethereum and the Veritasium, you're borrowing it, you're putting a percentage that you're willing to borrow at. And the people who are renting it to you say yes or no. Or they can have potential rents out or loans of the assets out, and then you accept it. You look at it, you find something that you're willing to
But I'm
accept.
talking about like the building.
I understand, but first you have to get the assets.
Okay.
So before you get the building, in order to short it, you borrow capital. Okay, you borrow the capital, okay, you buy the building drops in price, and now you sell it for more than you buy it for, less than you bought it for. So that's effectively an economic short, okay? You have to return the capital that you borrowed, okay? If you buy the building goes up in price, and you still have to return the capital, then you take a little economic loss. If it goes down in price, you effectively execute your plan as you expect it to
So
go.
you structure it as a swap kind of.
No, not a swap. It's very similar to margin purchasing. When you borrow something on margin, the broker does everything in the background. But when you borrow something on margin, you basically borrow capital, to buy securities. You hope the securities go down in price. If they do, you sell the securities back and you get back the money that you borrow. If the securities go up in price, you still have to return the capital. So now you're out of money. Okay, so this is similar in concept but not in execution. I have to say that to the camera because everything is, regulatory. Hammers think everything's a nail. Okay, so this is basically buying, selling high, buying low, using a physical asset. Okay, and you're borrowing other assets to fund it.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is all done in the app, and all the terms are locked in a smart contract, meaning that you can't default on it once you agree with it. It escrows all the funds, you don't get to touch the funds, you don't get the option of taking funds running off with them. You have to use them in the system. So you can only, as you would say, quote, short stuff that's in the system.
Because you have to commit your funds.
Right. If we let you leave the system with the funds, then there's a possibility malfeasance, but you can proof against that because you have to put up collateral, okay? And the collateral is put up, and if something goes wrong, like the price of the building goes outside of bounds, it will close the transaction for you and keep the collateral. And that's to protect the lender of the asset.
The lender of the asset.
A margin, it's not a margin call, because if it is, the hammer starts considering us a nail and we're a screw. But also,
Effectively a margin.
yeah, it has the economics of a margin call. Okay, now it's up to the lender of the capital to put a high enough collateral requirement and or a high enough interest rate to make it worthwhile. It could be very, very expensive to lend out as a lender if very shoots up in price. So you lend your very out for, let's say, a 30% return, but very quadruples in price. You know, you get your 30%, the guy decides to default, he's like, well, watch, I give it back. I'd rather pay the 30% and I keep the 500% return, the 400% return. So,
This will be 100% of my vary. Whatever the dollar value of my vary is.
yeah. So that's why this is not passive income, it's very much active income. And you're not relying upon our efforts and abilities, relying on your own efforts and abilities. And that's part of the test of whether.
So the borrow on the asset is effectively borrowing the capital to effectively buy the asset in the short run.
Right, in contract rate.
So it's like when I get a borrow on the stock.
Right.
I'm charged a borrow.
It's economically similar. You know, I have to be, I don't want to sound like I'm being difficult, but from a regulatory perspective, you know, I don't want to say doing
Turn
X,
off
Y,
the
and Z.
recording.
But there's submitting the capital.
But there is actually a difference. So, you know,
Yeah.
I want to explain the difference because there literally is a difference.
But they're submitting the capital in order to keep you whole. If for some reason the smart contract falls through, you're still held.
The collateral.
Exactly.
The smart contract never gonna fall through. You know, man, as long as 2 + 2 = 4, you should expect the smart contract to execute as
Boom,
planned.
you're good.
Unless there's a bug in it.
binary.
Right. And
So it keeps investors whole a lot more likely than not.
up until the limits of the collateral.
Exactly.
Okay. And you decide what the collateral you decide you want to put
Based
up.
off your return and off your risk,
Right.
whatever you decide in that particular contract.
So, you know, caveat emptor, be careful what you ask for because you're probably gonna get it. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. I showed the beta. I was too lazy to put that on Chromecast. I could plug it up to the screen, everybody can see it. But I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna lie to you, because it's gonna take me 15 minutes. You know, just plug it. Okay, any questions from me?
The Jamaican Stock Exchange,
Yes.
how you guys are gonna roll that out?
Well, we rolled it out, the plan was to take the centralized server, right? Basically, stuff you see on GDAX, okay, and create a digital asset exchange from a centralized perspective and allow them to trade things like Veritasium and Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. Then the next step was to give them extra inventory to trade using the Veda. The Veda spins out assets as wrapped in Veritasium, so you could trade islands in Jamaica, tourists, hotels, companies, etc. Okay, that's the plan. Okay, of course we have to get the actual deal executed, and it's still a work in progress. So I can't guarantee it's going to happen. I can't guarantee it's not going to happen. It's a work in progress. You know, we had a strong start, but we have politics to deal with, and you know how politics work. Everybody asks me, when's XYZ deal going to happen in XYZ sovereign state or jurisdiction? And that's like going to Congress and like, can you give me the date and time we're going to pass this legislation? Of course not, because that's not the way it works. So. Any other questions?
Why do you call it Veritasium?
Um,
What's the meaning behind it? Like,
It's the element of truth, honestly.
You should go with bikini.com.
Okay. Yeah, raise your hand.
Yeah, so when you're looking at, I'm pulling the thread a little bit that this gentleman was asking about, how do you, what's the marketplace gonna look like? Because if you get some, adoption, there's gonna be dozens or hundreds or thousands of opportunities in there for people to look at. What's the UX design to present? How do I get mine seen? So like, if you think of Kickstarter, you can browse by category, you can see, filter on return, you can filter on category. Do you have something in the plan for the site and or the application so that you can, as an investor, choose things, or as someone who's putting something up, being able to hit the target audience?
Well, the initial beta, as you see, is going to be a diversified set of assets and based upon our research. So you're basically buying our research. So if you believe in research, you're buying exposure to the assets of research. We can specialize in the beta as we get more inventory, so then you have silos. Think of mutual funds. You have fixed income, blah, blah, this, that, and they can get specific. If you are an institution, we can allow you to spin up your own betas. Okay, that way you have to use your own staff or you hire staff, or we wouldn't have strong marketing. We only basically will do analysis, and in the beginning and some engineering. But some self-centered institutions say, something, this is a good way to do it. It's at a flat 5%, so let's do it. And we add another 30% on for our fees. So we're back to where we started from that 35%. But it's business, it's software, right? So it's not a security. We'll let them have it. But in doing that, realize now it's basically a marketing race, because they're taking software that's available for 5%, selling for 35%, but they put their brand on it, and they're always going to have an audience that's always going to go to them because that's what they do. How many people have an iPhone? Raise your hand.
2.
How many raise your hand? That's more than half the room, right? So what made you buy an iPhone?
Works.
Yeah, because it's
Simplicity.
And
Simplicity.
well, once you're roped into that whole thing, and then you lose your phone,
I had a
and you just
MacBook.
buy another one, and it's the same as it was.
Well, I did, but I.
Brand loyalty.
Yeah, well, that's not even that. It's just switching. I actually really want to switch brands. It's just such a pain in the ass. The undertaking is something I'm not interested in right now.
No, but let's be
Did you
honest,
say-
it's a great product. It really is.
What makes it
well
great?
engineered.
No, that's
It's well
interesting.
engineered.
I'm
The
an
perception of it being a
Let me
good
see.
product.
Exactly.
It's a old garden.
So,
but
so if I drop both of these in a bathtub right now in the sink of water, which one do you think will start working
Is
first?
that an iPhone 8 though?
Yeah, it's not funny.
Alright.
So which one do you think will start working
iPhone
first?
8.
As a matter of fact, if I just dropped it, let's take the cases off, and I just drop it, which one do you think will break first?
Mine.
Okay. Okay, it's a half-naked picture of me. Which one has a bigger screen?
Is that really you?
That's really me. Yeah, I'm a vain guy. So
Reggie, come on.
you have a bigger screen.
You've never seen him, the
basically.
painting with him on the horse?
No.
So I go through this because Apple is a master marketer. Honestly, objectively, this is a vastly inferior device to anything in this price range. But almost everybody thinks it's a better device. When you ask them why, you said it's better engineered. The cameras are better on the Samsung. The durability is better. Much larger screen, much higher resolution. It actually does everything. Much more durable.
I didn't know that.
And it's cheaper.
Ecosystems.
And it comes with 64 gigs, and I have a 200
Extended.
gigabyte
Yep.
chip in it. 256 gigabyte.
No.
Okay? And it has to keep going on and on.
2 terabytes
The
here.
reason why you use it, okay, is because if you lose it, you buy another one. It adapts immediately. I go through phones like it's water. I just type in my email address. Everything pops up automatically.
Oh, I know. It's just being integrated into one system versus the other.
But the system works on the iPhone. All you have to do is get a Gmail account. So it's not, Apple locks you in, which is how they get 62% margins.
But that's also why looking to not buy another Apple product, I'm pretty frustrated right now.
You don't need to get locked in, just put everything in the Gmail account, everything in Drive, and you ignore it. As a matter of fact, when you buy a Samsung, and they ask if you're using coming from another Android or Apple, if you choose Apple, there's a wizard that walks you through getting everything. And the phone takes care of everything in the background.
But even beyond that, I mean, I trust Google even less than I trust Apple.
What if you trust a
Which is exactly nothing. I mean, we're essentially paying for a device that tracks our every move and then monetizes that data. And it's crazy that we pay for that. They should pay us, but
Go look at Pillar.
Yeah.
Pillar.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
and,
Pillar.
and those are very. I mean, it's a dumbed down device, but having that peace of mind at the end of the day is, invaluable.
Yeah.
If that concerns you,
The trusting companies just don't. It's like it's just, what company do you trust?
Very few.
I trust Apple to overcharge.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
absolutely.
I trust Google to be invasive in privacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But trusting as in like friendship, it's just
No,
it just doesn't apply.
It's an adversarial relationship.
Yeah.
Inherently.
We trust Veritasi.
You trust Veritasium to crack business models and drop margins. because it's in Veritase's best interest. That is also happens to be in your best interest. The reason why I use Microsoft Office, because it works. It's the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Do I trust Microsoft?
Yeah.
Of course not. You know, I trust them to be untrustworthy, but they make the best product. Google's product is for what is the best.
Absolutely.
Google Maps is unmatched, basically.
Yeah.
And anything comes close, Google buys it. Waze was getting very close. Israeli company, they bought it. Google Docs is unmatched. Actually, Microsoft Office for the web is much more robust than Google Docs, but Google has such a head start that I don't use it. Even though I know it's better, I don't use it. And they're both at the same price, which is free.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going through this exercise right now.
I was setting up everything and I was like,
Convenience
yes.
and security, they're not, you know.
Yeah.
So on your peer-to-peer exchange,
Well, it's not a peer-to-peer exchange, it's peer-to-peer.
Peer-to-peer.
So, the reason why you needed an exchange previously is because that was the only way to aggregate capital and transfer back and forth. The technology now allows you to basically integrate the business model. So you don't need a centralized exchange. The only thing you need from a centralized exchange is access to data, to know he exists and know that he has something to sell.
Create the contract.
Right.
The trustless.
Right, that can be done now through the blockchain automatically. You get a listing there, everybody comes in, they put their rental orders in, they put whatever they want, you can scroll down the list. You can go and do a search for it. You can do a natural language search. You can take the untrustworthy Google search engine API, plug it right into the interface and do a Google search. Google search is amazingly accurate. If you're ever talking to Google now, ask it a question, ask it any question in terms of wanting a factual answer, and it answers you with like 95% accuracy. Now the reason why it's so accurate is because it knows what you're going to ask to begin with, because it's been spying on you all your life. So, so yeah, the compound question.
What coins will be like available on that exchange? Will it be any?
Oh, you mean the Jamaica exchange?
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, you're assuming it's going through. So Jamaica exchange is speculative. Okay. So assuming that we actually do it, it would be initially the major cryptos and custom stuff spun up from the Veritasium VE tokenization. We do maybe local car dealers that want to raise capital, the tourism industry, etc., specific to Jamaica. Whatever the regulators and the Jamaica Stock Exchange think is worthwhile, and or whatever I think is worthwhile, assuming it passes most of the regulators. Okay? And I have a prepackaged deal to go with any country. So if you know any country or any exchange within a country that would like to get started, we can get them started up in the Veda immediately. You know, 30 days from now, after the secure code audit, they can basically have an effective ETF that doesn't exist anywhere in the world, even in much more developed nations such as New York with the NASDAQ, the stock exchange, or the LSC, the London Stock Exchange. You know, so I can go and give Nairobi a very advanced digital asset ETF backed with full research that the users of the ETF can actually read and peruse. Think of an ETF right now where you have self-generated research from the ETF. And New York, the United States, through New York and Chicago, is supposed to be the most advanced financial market in the world. Can't think of anybody who does that. So I think it's a strong sell, but the first deal is going to be the hardest one because it's different. And especially if I go to another country because I'm a foreigner. But one advantage I have is I can wait them out. So I'm going to try it yourself. And after they bang their head on the wall a few times, I'm like, you can't do it. Now we get to negotiate. Or I get somebody who truly is adventurous and wants to pull the trigger. And I think that may happen within the next couple of months. So I have a couple of MOUs to be signed. But I'm not a big believer in MOUs because it's not an actual deal. But in many other cultures, an MOU is considered an actual contract. In certain legal jurisdictions, it's actually binding because it's supposed to be intent. So if you enter into an MOU without the intent of following through, it's considered fraud. But you know, in New York, people fraud each other all the time. It's called business. My lawyer used to say in real estate, when you deal with a certain demographic group, I'm not going to mention that group is, they say that the negotiations don't start until after you sign a contract. That's funny, it's a lawyer joke. Get it?
No,
Negotiations don't start until after you sign the contract.
Yeah.
That's probably my.
No, that one fell dead, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't my joke, I'm just repeating it. So. Any other questions?
I gotta go, man.
Gotta go?
Yeah.
Okay, your call?
I get you.
Yeah, okay.
I see you in the gym.